April 25th, 2022 special meeting minutes.
So move.
Second. Discussion?
No. Yes.
Aye. Yes. Yes. Next is April financials. Do you have a chance to review them?
I move that we approve the financials.
Second.
Discussion? Tim?
Yes.
Aye. Yes.
Yes. All right, okay. Special event permit, Riverboat Saloon.
Okay, Riverboat Days, is coming up in June. Tyler has submitted his, where he will just be set up outside his bar again, on the street for the street dance on Saturday night.
Okay.
Same location that he has been.
Same as always?
Yep, drawings on the back, where he'll be.
I move to approve the special permit.
Second.
Discussion? Tim?
Yes.
Aye. Yes.
Yes. Special event permit, Captain's Cabin. I see they have two of them here. We'll do the, parade, derby, and street dance first.
That one's Saturday, drawing set up still the same. As always, you guys will be across the street in front of Stella's as normal, and then you will have your location on wherever you'll be at the derby.
Yeah, I don't know yet.
Okay,
They're
yeah.
setting everything up, so somewhere around the ring of the derby.
Okay.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve it. I'll second it.
Discussion? Okay.
Yes.
Aye. Yes.
Yes. Next one is Friday, the outdoor band for the Captain's Cabin.
Yep, and that's just in their lot again, next to the cabin where they always have had it for years.
Okay.
So move.
I'll second it.
Discussion? Tim?
Yes.
Aye. Yes.
Yes. Fireworks permit, Suzie Jacobson, and that is,
That is on Saturday evening. We did it last year. We lit it back by the elevator. We got permission from the owners of that, Wilton Elevators. This year we'd like to do it on Main Street because people couldn't really see over the buildings. And I think that's what they did this fall when they had their 911 memorial on Main Street. So that's where we'd like to do it. I don't know an exact location yet.
well, I'm sure you'll follow the burn guidelines if they're
Yeah,
like high.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll move that we approve the application for the fireworks display permit.
Second it.
Just further discussion? Tim?
Yes.
Aye. Yes.
Yes. Suzie, you had one more thing on the fireworks you wanted?
Yeah, every year I come and let you know that I'm selling for Memory Fireworks. I've done it for about 15 years for them, so I am doing it again. Our location may change, we're waiting, the old Napa building or McLean Implement building next to Krause's.
Oh.
If it has not sold by then, we're gonna lease out a portion of that and have it inside of that building instead of pulling a semi up here. Make it a little bit shopper friendly and easier on me.
Not as warm.
Too many steps, huh?
Has a bathroom and everything,
Yeah.
so,
That's nice.
just what, yeah,
And this really doesn't need to be voted on, it's just a courtesy that.
Yep.
Yeah.
yep, and we'll
Thanks,
sell
Suzie.
the legal days, the 27th of June, July 5th.
Okay.
Okay.
And also, Riverboat Days, there's a raffle for a demo derby, and at the demolition derby.
Yep, we just wanted to do a 50-50 raffle, dollar tickets, kind of just a little entertainment type of thing to do in between, events, get a little bit more of our money back, just a little extra.
Okay.
Sell them for $1 a ticket.
And that's just at the Derby, right?
That's just at the Derby, yeah. We're not gonna pre-sell them before or anything, it'll just be up there.
Okay. Okay,
And I have no idea what kind of money will come
Right.
from that, or,
It'll just be 50/50, so.
yeah. Yep.
I'll move to approve the permit.
Second.
Discussion? Tim?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Great. Okay, we need to designate the official newspaper. So basically, according to Century Code, if we have a newspaper in town, we have to designate that as a local newspaper, so I will, move to designate the, Leader News as the local newspaper.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Tim?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. DMBW? Nobody here?
No, I never heard from him either, so.
Okay. So, this was tabled from last meeting.
I would move that we bring that off the table.
Second it?
Okay. Tim?
Yep. Yes.
Aye. Yes.
Yes, okay, so it is off the table, so now we can discuss it.
Yep. I guess my feeling on it is that we would deny this because it brings no revenue to the city. It's just using of our streets. And, you know, as I've driven around and I've looked at a number of our streets in the community that are in need of repair, this would just put more stress on, you know, even though it is a truck route and it's a little thicker, it's different when we have, in my opinion, when we have semis with bringing goods to our businesses and our community, because we're getting 1 cent sales, we're getting all that. But this is just using our streets for hauling this fly ash somewhere else, so I would move that we would deny this request.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion. Also, you know, they were invited to come to this meeting,
Right.
so they're not here, so.
Okay.
I'm going to guess that they might have found something different.
Okay, that sounds good.
Any other discussion?
Still need to act on it, so.
Yep. Tim?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay, Memorial Hall electrical panels was also tabled from last time.
I would move that we would bring that back off the table, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
Yes.
Aye. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So we had, so it's back up, it's back on the agenda, or back for discussion. So, I mean, reviewing the two bids, or the two estimates, you know, they're very, very similar. You know, one of them is just way, way, way higher than the other one.
Right.
So, you know, and basically, I think we need to go off the original estimates, not something that was presented after that. So, I will make the motion that we go with Lakeside Electric for doing the panels.
With double checking, because her prices were only good until May 1st, I think it was.
On the panel.
On the panel, so.
Okay, well, we'll double check with the
Right,
prices. Okay.
so, because she stipulated that, and it was going to be a long wait period to get some of the parts,
Right.
so.
Okay, so we need a
Okay.
second then, so.
I'll second it.
Okay, so now, but you're right, yeah, we'll have to contact her and.
To see what, as long as this bid is still.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
because that was part of the deal there, so.
Yeah, yeah.
I agree, Mike, so.
And as long as, the thing is, we probably wouldn't be doing the work right away anyway, so.
Right, right. So maybe she can give us a longer,
We'll see, yeah.
the price, or, you know.
Yep.
Okay, any other discussion? Tim?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes, you'll get a hold of her?
I'll get a hold of her.
Okay, perfect.
And I'll try to get that revised deal and see if anything major changes.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Washburn Park Board? Come on up.
I'm good. I don't. I guess I want to first of all, I want to read you our mission statement, which is to provide the best possible recreation for Washburn residents of all ages, create walking paths, parks, pools, and game venues for the betterment of the community residents, young and old alike. And so when our garden was stopped for this year, I just have to tell you what that includes, because I don't know how much thought was put into the planning of your staging for your project. But where the garden is, yes, there were people from the community that used it. But the Lions Club got a double plot and sometimes a triple plot, and it was planted, and everything that grew out of that went to the resource center. We were able to provide hundreds of pounds of garden vegetables, and, you know,
Well,
that's for the good of the community.
If I may interject here, so the, agreement to supply water to Blue Flint has been terminated by Blue Flint. So, you are free to use the planning area, use the area for the sports that you see fit,
When did you know that?
a couple days ago.
Last Friday,
Friday.
we got the email
Well,
last Friday
I'm
morning.
sorry about that. Doesn't that really hurt us not to have that extra income?
We made our
Oh, well.
decision based off the only information we had a month ago, so.
Right,
Yeah.
Oh,
so now
absolutely.
you got your plot back.
Well, can I say something?
Yeah.
That's where I asked the commission to find out until you guys knew what you were gonna do before you guys voted unanimously to cancel it this year and possibly next year.
Well, we didn't know at the time.
Well, that's
Yeah,
why I.
So, and I think, here's the thing. My husband works out at GRE.
Mhm.
There was that on the table because of GRE going down, and now GRE, once Rainbow bought it, it's a non-issue because Rainbow will provide the water. So.
Right, and we just
and-
found that out.
We just found
Yeah,
that out,
yeah.
so there's
And
no
my
way we
husband
knew
was
that ahead of
hopeful
time.
that they actually told you, because he was like fearful they weren't at some point gonna inform you.
No.
So what does this mean now? There's not gonna be any?
Well, we will not be, doing the intake expansion. Or we might be doing the intake, we will not be doing, the water treatment plant expansion. We will not be doing any pipelines going out there. So,
Yeah.
we still have an issue with the intake, you know, but that's a couple other things we need to discuss.
Yeah, and
But
I
as
feel
far
like-
as the staging area, it should be open.
Yeah, and I feel like we needed to be here just to kind of hear what,
Sure.
if there was changes and what they were,
Yep.
so we could be
Yep.
here to hear what was going on.
Mainly because of the baseball.
Yeah, well, you would have still had baseball there.
Sure.
Mhm.
I mean, that wouldn't have affected the baseball, I don't think. I don't know why it would have.
Nope.
Well, we received several comments from the community because what was stated at the meeting was there's a possibility that the city would shut it all down.
Oh, no.
That's not what was said.
That was
I'm the one
never-
that made the statement, so
Right.
I'll clarify it, but I won't argue with you, because there's a difference, Mark. What I meant was that worst-case scenario, that sports may be interrupted. Now, it's interesting that only one person stopped and visited with me about it, and he happened to be on the local school board, and when I explained to him, what I meant by that was simply that, let's say we've got 4 semis worth of stuff coming in a day, and you might have to back a game up a day or two, or an hour or two. That's all that was meant, that's the clarification. And if someone would have just called, they would have got the answer. But that's all I meant by it. And that,
Well-
but you're back up and running, it's a dead issue right now, it's time to move on.
It's all null and void.
Okay, that sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet.
That was pretty simple, wasn't it?
Oh, if the city could, there's one big hole in front where the loader, dug up a big divot.
Oh, that would be fixed.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be fixed,
Yeah,
yeah.
'cause I'm sure
yeah.
it was.
And then, did you guys look into the bleacher that was Haven't seen it.
Why were they not moved? You guys knew snow was coming.
We didn't put them there.
We didn't put them there either.
Well, it's-
Wrong.
We did?
The guys did put them there at the request of the school.
Oh, so I would talk to the school.
Well, I know, but the school didn't run into it. So what are we gonna do then?
You know, it's kind of like when those dugouts were put in there, it was, you know, you're putting them in right away, if things get damaged, well, they get damaged, you know.
But they were set back off the road.
But it's still,
Still right away.
it's still in our snow removal ordinance here that the city's not responsible for damages to sprinklers, fences, et cetera, that are on city right-of-ways by snow plowing. They're sitting on the right-of-way. There's
Okay,
nowhere to
well,
go.
that's fine.
Yeah, it's the same with the mailboxes, you know, I mean, we don't
Same
cover
type
them.
of
Well, I just,
Yeah. Right, I'm just saying.
yeah,
All right.
All right, thank you for coming.
yep, thank you.
Where's Adam? Next is boat ramp repair. Adam, you're next.
Sorry.
Boat ramp repair.
Oh. Yeah, okay, yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't put this on the agenda. What do you wanna know?
Well, it's all in your hands.
Who, what, where, when?
So we're reporting part of the, dock that was broken out, on Friday. And that's already set up.
You are going to on Friday.
It's scheduled, so. And they made us, or they had us do some additional fixes to the boat ramps, or the boat docks themselves, which are finished. The only thing we're still waiting on is, there's an area next to the ramps that needs some additional riprap.
We basically got a letter from, the Game and Fish.
Yep.
And saying, you guys need to fix this.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's an area that needs more riprap, basically. That's the only outstanding thing. There is a matching funding for that. Or is it
You gotta-
75-25?
You gotta get that before you do it.
Yeah. But I don't have any numbers on that yet, so.
Well, you're gonna be pouring it in an account.
No, that's off the table. I'm talking about the riprap part of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the riprap, we could get matching funds on that. And really, there was like maybe 2 yards of concrete, which is all.
Yeah, but the river's going up on Sunday, so we didn't have enough time to
Yeah.
get that quote submitted to the Game and Fish, get the money back or whatever, so it's just gotta be done.
Yeah. It's that spot in between the
We
two
looked at
ramps.
it. Yep, we looked at that.
So, yeah. So, okay.
So that's some,
Larry, on that, the community garden, you guys made a motion. and that-
Excuse me, we're talking about this. Hey.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were done, but.
No, we're not done.
You don't wanna-
Excuse me.
just wait a minute, Mark, okay?
Okay,
We're not on your
So,
agenda.
Any questions on that?
So then we're looking for funding for this concrete, to replace this concrete?
Not the concrete, no.
The riprap part.
riprap part.
Okay.
Which will be probably significantly more expensive than the concrete part.
Okay.
I don't, like I said, I don't have any numbers on that, but last time I got some prices on riprap, it was over $1,000, just for one load, and then we're gonna need at least 2 or 3 loads this time, so. But I can get some numbers on that
Right.
and submit it to Game and Fish, and then by the time we get it back, it's gonna be next meeting already, so.
Did they give you a time frame on how long they're giving us to repair this, the Game and Fish?
No.
No,
Okay, so,
and we've done most of the stuff they have to do already, so.
But the concrete, we needed to get done right away.
yeah.
Is there a certain size riprap that we have to use, or I'm just,
I guess
You
I'm not
just-
entirely sure
you
what
just-
they want.
Whether there's a spec or
You
something.
can,
right,
give you a
just
whole.
whether we can just use field rock or not?
Right.
I'm just curious, so we can save a little bit of money there if possible, if there's something locally.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll have more for the next meeting, probably, so.
all right, thanks, Adam.
Okay, real quick on the community garden?
Okay, I apologize for interrupting, I thought you were done. You guys had made a motion and second to cancel the community, do you guys have to reinstate it by making a motion to reverse your decision from the last meeting?
I thought I had talked about if we could find another place or something, we would try to make that work.
I
When we
thought
talked
the
about-
motion was we cancel things until further notice.
Yeah.
And, you know, in the staging area until further notice, and we said, well, it's already done, so I think, I mean, I guess this is the further notice, so.
We'll look this up here, Larry.
That's okay.
Hang on.
But
Thomas motion, no community garden and very restricted use of the staging area due to ongoing construction until further notice.
Okay, right, and I think this was our further notice, we basically said, go ahead, so.
Colin questioned about finding another, and you said, my motion is to
So
stop
for-
it
so
for
further
this
notice,
year,
right.
and then, but not to, for further notice.
It was, no, that was my motion, it's further notice. Yeah, exactly, I mean, we had it word for word in there. It's exactly what it was, so I had it written down.
Can you repeat that, please?
All right, real quickly, and then we're gonna move on.
Thomas motioned, no community garden and very restricted use of the staging area due to ongoing construction until further notice. Simon seconded.
So, yeah, it's
I'm
basically,
just making
yeah.
sure we're all legal here.
You're good, okay.
All right, thank you.
Yep, absolutely, no problem.
Can we go back to the boat dock real quick?
Yes,
When will the main dock be put in then? After, I know the concrete's being poured on Friday, but then when can the residents expect the main dock to be put in?
At least a week after that.
Okay.
But the courtesy dock's in already, and that, I mean, it's basically performs the same function as the main dock.
the nice thing about what they're pouring is they don't drive on it.
Yeah.
You know, so it should be fine, and it's be put in like a week later, I would guess.
Yeah, hopefully.
Just know that's gonna be a question that'll be,
Oh,
if
yeah.
it gets nice coming up, so,
Absolutely, yeah,
But there's nothing stopping people from going in there now,
right,
like that courtesy dock.
the courtesy dock.
okay,
Sounds good.
very good. Police contract.
The new contract is here. I have supplied it for you guys to take a look at. I haven't done it for a couple of years, but from my understanding, they used to do it in the past where they are holding a meeting, that JR will be present, and they have invited, the auditors and some of the commission to attend this meeting, which will be where JR will go over the police contract and what they're supplying and the changes to the updated one, instead of attending every single commission meeting. I will be going, Tim will be going.
And that is when?
May 31st.
31st, in Underwood, correct?
Correct,
Okay.
That is on a what?
a
On
Tuesday.
Tuesday, okay. But I imagine if we wanted to come to a meeting, they will. So,
But, yeah, we'll just have
After
to
that.
go over this, and,
Yeah.
that'll be discussed, and the kind of changes, and then we'll have to make sure we get it signed, but
When does this have to be signed by, do you know?
July?
July first?
July 1st.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says right on here.
July 1st, okay.
Yeah.
All right, that gives us a little time. All right, very good. Any questions on that?
You know, and I've been in contact with JR's, met with him a couple of times, you know, concerning the contract and, you know, of course, fuel costs, salary
Absolutely.
increases, all that
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
you know, and that type of thing, so. And, it's been really good as far as addressing concerns and that type of thing.
Right. I think they've stepped it up this year a little bit.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, his reasoning behind it is that he's hoping that the lion's share of questions can just be asked there, and he'd even,
Yeah.
I mean, he'd even meet individually if you wanted, hey, sit down with him up there type of thing, but with the limited time, he's trying to get away from going to however many different venues that they're
Right,
covering, you know,
right.
to try and not preach the same thing, you know,
Right, I get it.
nine different times, so, was the reasoning there.
Real quick, what time was that meeting on the 31st?
6 o'clock.
Yeah,
Lunch is being
I'm
served?
sure Underwood City Hall.
Underwood City Hall, yep.
Okay.
Lunch is being served? No?
Larry's buying.
All right,
about that?
okay.
It's PM, so.
Anything else on that? Nothing else on that? Okay. Cleanup letters? Last year we sent out cleanup letters, didn't have much response. But this year we'll need to get them out early,
Okay.
so we'll be working on them shortly, so. Okay, any questions on that?
No.
Blue Cross Blue Shield renewal rates?
I met with our rep last week, to go over our new rates, and surprisingly enough, our rates decreased. So, that was a
Wow.
positive thing to see.
Don't double check it.
Not by much.
Yeah, but it didn't increase.
That's right.
So she did give me some rates, I guess, of if we wanted to switch our plans to, but being they decreased and didn't go off a whole lot, I still find it hard to go off the plan that we're on, so.
We have a really, really good plan, and I don't wanna get something worse for our employees.
Right. So we need a motion to,
Yes,
okay, I will so move.
I'll second.
further discussion?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Employee needs.
Our employee that we officially made an offer to has turned it down. And he is looking at going overseas, so he turned down our for employment here.
Okay.
So what Mike and I would like to recommend that we don't hire another full-time employee, and we address this in about a year's time to see if we actually need one or not, and just go with the 3 employees that we have. And then we also make a recommendation that we hire at least 1 or 2 summer helpers to do some of the grass cutting and doing the bushes on the highway and such like that.
Okay.
We have already advertised for summer help, haven't we?
Yeah, we have 2 applications. I wanted to see if it was okay with the commission here, and then Mike and I were gonna start on some interviewing processes for these people then.
Yeah, I think we need to do that, summer and the grass is growing. Okay.
Okay. Do we need a motion on that? I don't know.
Well, we've already had this position is dead.
It's dead,
Yeah.
and we already authorized, yeah,
Right.
we should be fine.
And we've already
We already authorized it.
advertised for summer help, so.
Okay. When did he,
The only thing is, Mr. Chairman, we have put out, were you gonna say something?
No,
Oh, okay.
my hand is cramping, sorry.
Okay. We did, advertise to hire another full-time employee. And of course, that's when we thought that the water plant and all these other things
Right,
were
that's
gonna go
true.
through. So we probably should have a motion, as Don said, to, put that on hold or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah, see what,
Otherwise, the normal process would be just.
see what it looks like in a year from now if we actually need somebody or not.
that's your motion?
Yes.
Because we got the notification Sunday morning.
Sunday morning, he texted me.
Okay, we need a second.
Second. Otherwise, the normal procedure would be to go to the next person in line, so I would say yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Yes,
yes, okay. And then you'll interview for the.
yes.
Yeah.
And when do you want as soon as you can start with the summer help?
At this point, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's, we got rain, yeah, we got rain, so.
Yeah, just,
Okay.
okay. So you gotta take.
Probably
some-
take-
So if anybody's looking for a summer job.
I might apply for a job.
Go, not a problem. I don't think you'll be tired this year either.
Probably not.
You can't get tar.
I know.
Hey, to us. This meeting is going way fast.
You guys are cruising. I am not expecting to be up here this quick.
Colin, come on up.
That dynamic duo.
We can take like 45-minute intermission if you want.
Well, we'll try to keep things brief too, so you guys can keep moving.
You do what you got.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, well, we'll try. So I emailed you guys, the report, but as everybody's aware, and we talked about it already earlier tonight, Blue Flint, was able to get a long-term agreement for water service from Rainbow Group after that Rainbow Group, deal went through. So they pulled all their support for any of the, projects for the water service to Blue Flint. So that also took, the local share or funding for the intake process. So, you know, we're moving on to what the next thing might be, and, the city still is in need of a new water source, so we'll do what we gotta do next. I think we talked about it last week, Larry, when we got the news, but I'm recommending that we don't advertise the intake project at this point in time.
Right.
Until the city can look at all the options that are on the table for what they wanna do for a new water source.
Excuse me, Eric, being how we had made an official motion to advertise for bids, do we need to
That would be a good idea,
make
Yeah,
an
sure.
official motion to,
Yep.
I don't know how we would word that properly.
to, cancel our, bids for the intake, I imagine.
Right,
Yes.
I'll second it.
okay,
Tim and Don.
yeah,
Okay.
I believe that was my motion.
Okay, Tim?
Yes,
Yes. Yes.
Yes,
sorry, Eric, I just.
No,
Alright,
that's fine.
that's a good point, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So, just moving on, so the next thing there is the update on the intake project, and, met with Tim and Larry last week to talk about a few updates, and one of the things that we did, with this Service of Lukeland project is we reevaluated our intake project by doing another survey on the river. And the Missouri River is extremely dynamic in that the river channel can change quite a bit. It can pick up and drop sediments, in large quantities to make the river look much different from year to year. So I wanted to direct your attention to, those 11 by 17 sheets that I have for you. In 2018, we did a bathymetric survey, which is a survey of the river bottom, showing the contours, where the river channel is. There's two different figures there. The one with the green and red all over it shows the big deep channel that was caused by the higher than normal flows that we had in 2018. We had a large deep channel that was scoured on the west side of the river where we were looking to site our intake. And it's pretty substantial. It cut about 20 feet on that side. Now, if you look at the cross-section on the lower part of that page, showing the green and red, it shows a green line there. That was from our 2017 survey. And you can see, if you follow the green line across the paper, it's showing more of a flat river. And it's a river channel that I would describe as something that's more normal. In 2018, we had those higher flows. You know, the dam they were releasing 30,000 cubic feet per second plus during much of that year, part of the year. The average was in fact greater than 30,000 CFS that year. And what that did was those larger flows picked up a lot more sediment through that quicker channel, which is on the west side. So it moved all that sediment out. And the red line shows the river bottom from the 2018 survey that we did. All right. So switching back to the other sheet, it shows the two cross sections, and it shows our intake structure and pipeline. The 2018 survey, you can see that where the river channel is and where our screen would be in the current plan. And then the 2022 survey, which we just did this last month, it was actually the end of March, so a little more than a month ago, shows the green channel. Now that green channel is currently above where the intake would be, but it's resembling a lot more of what I would say normal flow is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's probably less than normal flow right now because we had such a long period of time where the river is flowing at 13,000 CFS or less, which is about the minimum that the Corps lets out of the dam. And Adam was having trouble, and you guys are all aware of how much trouble we had with the intake this last fall. But like Adam said earlier tonight, they're going to be increasing those flows again, which will be nice. So the point of what I'm trying to get at here is that the river channel is starting to turn back to what it was prior to the 2018 higher flows, and that deeper channel that we had on the west side of the river is shallowing up a little bit. There's still the channel over there though, but what I want to let you guys know is that it's changed, and if we were going to do the intake projects, if we were going to move forward as a water source, as a viable project for the city's water source, we'd want to do a larger, canvas, a larger survey, bathymetric survey to see that river bottom again, so we can see if we could find some consistency and where we place that. So that's what we would do if we were to move forward with the intake project itself.
Can you go by previous records where the river normally flows from year to year? Because it's gonna change with water flow, like you said.
Yep, it's gonna change, you know, when you have large runoff events, when you have large flows out of the dam, when you have, you know, events like the 2011 flood, which caused drastic changes to the river as well. So, yes, the answer to that question is yes. You know, we look at the historical, photographs, historical bathymetric surveys, if we have them, where we can cite that intake where it's gonna be, you know, the vast majority of the time, a viable intake. I mean, even the intake the city has now, might have been placed best when it was installed at the time, but again, the river changes, so that's why you gotta try to look as best you can to cite that where it's gonna be the majority of the time, you know, producing, for your intake. So that's the update on that. Is there any questions on what I presented on that stuff?
I have a real quick question, and that, you know, the elevation of the existing intake, or the depth or whatever, the elevation, how does that compare with where we had the new one proposed? Like, how much deeper was that? Do you know?
So if you look on that sheet with the bottom right corner says C5, there's a little, I should have highlighted it better, but the existing intake's at 1646.6, that's the elevation of the existing intake, okay? Where we had proposed to put the new intake, the top of the structure would have been at 1643.86. The invert of the pipe would have been, looks like I had it at 1641.50. That's the center line, just above 1641. Would have been the invert of that. So about 5 feet deeper is where we would have had it. Now, that doesn't mean anything if a sandbar appears over your intake, but it would have, what the plan would be is to be in much better situation for even low river flows. And that's why it's so important to cite that intake and where that channel and that low flow channel is most consistently at. So that's the goal. And you know, if we, depending on what the city decides with the other things we're gonna talk about here, you know, we would look at that again.
Yeah, right.
So, we do know that a consistent channel has been on that west side of the river since the dam has been constructed. You know, from first-hand accounts of people that have lived here their whole lives, and from data that we have looked at. But the Missouri River, a surface water intake in the Missouri River is always gonna be a challenge, is what I would tell you. That's a main key takeaway, in this scenario. So.
Could we ever come up with like a deeper well where it's water that's just settling through the riverbed
So you're talking
collecting?
about like a vertical well, an angle well, or a horizontal collector well? So wells most certainly are something that the city could do. The thing with wells is that right now, the way that the water plant's set up to treat surface water, okay? So there's a difference between treating groundwater and treating surface water, number one. You know, the city doesn't do any softening right now, and if you were to harvest groundwater as your water source, that's something that you would absolutely need to do. I would recommend that you would for sure want to do. Now, if you do something like a horizontal collector well where you have groundwater influenced by surface water, like in Bismarck, there's a horizontal collector well. Now, that's a little bit kind of a hybrid between a surface water and a true groundwater. But you gotta have the right situation, the right geology to have a horizontal collector well. And in Washburn's case, the geology doesn't exist close enough to town where it would be viable to do a project like that. You're looking at going like 7 to 10 miles away, and then you'd have to get that water back to the water plant, so it just wouldn't make any sense to do it.
That was actually looked at one time.
Yeah.
You know, years past.
Years past, yeah, we did look at that option.
It'd be like, you know, having something, when the water level's real low, it's whatever's seeping through the bed.
Right.
To take the water out.
Yes.
For just a small time period a year.
Yeah.
Then use our regular intake the rest of the time. I was just wondering if you checked that.
There's no actual water flow underneath our bed then, where we're drawing now, right? Underneath the bed.
Underneath the riverbed.
Underneath the riverbed.
There's groundwater down there, yes, it's just how viable it is, how well is your well gonna produce, you know?
Okay.
How much water are you gonna get? But then again, if you're harvesting groundwater, you're gonna have the minerals in the water, you're gonna have a lot harder water,
Mhm.
and it's a different treatment process at the water plant to do that. So
Okay.
that's where the city could most certainly decide to do that, but then they would have to look at options for modifications to their water plant.
Okay.
And like Larry said, those are things that we looked into over the years,
Mhm.
you know. So, yeah, it's like I said, it's not a simple, cut and dried, easy scenario. And the Missouri River is most certainly a beast, and it Mother Nature decides what it wants to do. So, I'm not trying to scare anybody. It's just something that we would have to look at reevaluating before we would cite an intake. But, you know,
Does the cost change much if you have to go down to groundwater?
well, our option that we looked into would be for an angle wells, and you know, yes, there's different costs to that, and I think the angle wells we would site on the opposite side of the river, so you're still doing a pipeline under the river to get that raw water to the water plant. You know, and if you'd have to look at what the changes would be, the cost would be to change your treatment process at the water plant. So yes, there is cost, and it's not cheap to drill a well either. You know, and then how successful is that well gonna be? There would be investigation into viable well sites and what depth you might have to go to. You'd have to test those wells to see what they actually produce before you'd really want to develop a well that would produce what the city would need for their capacity for water. So yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into that too. And by my best memory, thinking back, those options would have been the same or more expensive than a surface water intake.
So by having a groundwater well, supposedly, could you keep your other water line that we have now?
Absolutely, could.
Okay.
So, you know, like the city of Bismarck, I just because it's easiest to use them as an example, they have their horizontal collector well,
Mhm.
which is groundwater influenced by surface water, and then they have their conventional surface water intake.
Okay.
And they use both of those in their treatment process.
Do they
But it's-
combine them together, one? Or
You know,
are they separate?
I'm not sure exactly how they do all that, but I would imagine there's some blending that happens. But they have it down, you know, to where they know the amount that they mix together. They know what their chemistry's got to be for how they treat their water. So they,
In the short term, it would be just damn expensive doing this.
well, right, exactly. And the collector well, doing a horizontal collector well, if you have the right geology, is an excellent solution to this river.
Yeah.
But you got to have the right geology. It is a big upfront cost, but the one good thing about it is, man, you have a consistent product. You're always going to have the same. I mean, I shouldn't say always ever when I'm talking about it, but it's not going to be like the surface water is in the spring runoff when you have the turbidity change in the river
Right.
from all that runoff coming in. That makes it difficult to treat water, and you know, you guys are aware of that. Adam is for sure aware of how that works. So, so it definitely has its challenges there. But so I just wanted to share that with you, that there has been changes to the river. It was a little, almost, it wasn't quite 4 years, but well, 4 years since we looked at the river last time with that bathymetric survey. So if the city would still want to go towards doing an intake, we definitely want to do a little bit more thorough look at the river bottom. So, any questions on that? Okay, so the updates I have for the intake projects, besides the doom and gloom of you know, Blue Flint pulling the rug out from under us and the changes of the river that we've seen over the last couple of years, talking to the State Water Commission staff, they have indicated to us that the city will receive their grant increase request to the full 65% match. So that's good news. That grant increase request will be heard by the pre-commission, which is their committee. It's what precedes all of their full commission meetings. That'll be coming up this Thursday on May 12th. We'll talk about that. I will be available if they have questions about our grant increase request, which I'm pretty certain there will be. And then June 7th is the next full State Water Commission meeting. And that's when they would actually vote on granting the city that full 65% increase, or that 65% match.
So basically what we're asking for is more money to bring it to the 65%.
Yes, because the agreement in years past was the State Water Commission would match 65% of the cost. So because the project's gone over from, we started looking into this in 2013, we didn't get the grant from them until 2014. We've been working on it on and off again, depending on what's going on until now. And cost of projects go up year after year, so that's
Week by week?
yeah, week by week. Recently, it's been pretty bad with the supply chains, and I mean, everyone knows fuel costs, the way they're going and everything. That the cost of the project is most certainly to go up too. So we're asking the State Water Commission to honor that percentage, which would be an increased amount to what they've already granted.
Okay.
So that will be more to follow on that. Talking about the FEMA grant that we have, the Department of Emergency Service has indicated that the city will receive the time extension on that, although FEMA still has not granted that time extension to the grant. So when I hear anything on that, I'll let you know. I know I've been telling you that for months now, but I will let you guys know as soon as I find out. So all that being said, we talked about the challenges we've had to the project, talked about the funding, and we talked about Blue Flint, stepping away. So the local share of the project would fall to the city, and what I would suggest if the city was to go forward with the intake project is to reactivate the SRF loan. I know we were on the intended use plan for SRF before.
Right.
I don't believe we've been on there for a couple of years, although I know Shannon, and Abby knows Shannon for sure at SRF. We would get a hold of her right away and say, hey, the city's looking at doing this intake project and they're still in need of financing, and that's what I would suggest the city do to come up with funding for the local share.
Is that the 2% 40-year?
2% 30-year.
30,
right, Abby?
okay.
Yep.
So basically that just gets us on the list. It's not saying we're going
Right,
forward or anything.
right. And I would, if that's something the city would want to do, I would most certainly activate that as soon as I could to get the city on the intended use plan. Now, Abby, can you expound on?
Yes, it's perfect timing.
Yes.
Because, okay, so the state, they had that federal infrastructure bill that they passed end of 2021. That gave the state revolving funds a bunch of new money. But they have to put together their intended use plan. They have to show the federal government that they have a plan to use all this extra money. And so they have a special submission period starting just this month, where you can add projects to the list and try and get access to that new funding. It also comes with additional loan forgiveness. So, I will not guarantee anything, but there is more funding than we normally see. I would say significantly more on the drinking water side versus $2 million a year versus, 10, 15, right? So instead of funding the first 2 projects, they can maybe fund the first 10, 15 projects. So, it would give you the option to apply for SRF loan. It would let you know if you might qualify for loan forgiveness. And it's pretty, I'm sure I have the old questionnaires on file, and so it wouldn't take me long at all to put that together.
Yep.
So it's not it's not necessarily a first come, first serve they look at.
Nope,
Right.
Everyone's gonna submit, and they're gonna review the projects and prioritize who needs the money.
Okay.
And how long is that period open for, Abby?
They're due by July 1st.
Okay, so we got time.
Mm-hmm.
So if the city is thinking at all that they might want to go that route, then that's something we absolutely can get on the list and be looked at. We did it for years before, where we were on the list year after year, and it's just that the city's not committed to anything until they would actually say, yep, we're going to sign a loan agreement with the state, and now we're on.
We should get on it right away.
But
I would think.
Yep.
Yeah, right away.
Easy for me to do.
Yeah.
Do we need a motion for that, or just, we're good, or?
Because if we don't use it, we can always turn it down, right?
doesn't obligate.
I'll make the motion that we get on the list.
I'll second it.
The SRF loan.
Donnie got it. Beat me to it.
Tim?
I'm sleeping, yes.
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 Yes. Okay.
So Abby's a whiz at that stuff. She's much better at it than I am, so I'm glad that we have her
Yeah.
to firsthand, work on that right away. I will say too that with SRF comes American Iron and Steel and Davis-Bacon wages, federal requirements, so all the time, actually, I could say all the time in this case, when you are dealing with SRF money, the cost of your project is most likely gonna be a little bit higher because of that. So that's, you're gonna pay for a little bit there, but, it's definitely still worth your time and your effort to do it.
Now, would part of that, grant money that we have coming, or that we can get, would that help pay for some of that excess increase on this, money here?
So, the grant increase is what we're trying to get to, oh, you're talking about for the increase for doing SRF funding?
Right.
No, it wouldn't.
It wouldn't cover it?
No.
So whatever increase, we'd have to get it ahead of time, and then this other stuff after?
Yeah, so this is how we would do it if the city would decide to go forward with an intake project. We would get all that funding in line, which the FEMA funding, we're still waiting to get the extension request approved. The State Water Commission will be critical the next month, the next two meetings, May and June, to make sure that they commit to that 65%. So that funding's already in place. And then if Abby works on that, the loan, get it on the IUP, the intended use plan, then we get that in place, and then at that point, it's up to the city to say, yep, we're gonna bid this project again.
Okay.
We're almost to that point, besides the survey that I told you that we'd wanna do of the river bottom again, to make sure that we have that intake place at the exact right spot. Then the city would be able to bid the project. And at that point, you'd be going forward through the loan process. You'd be working on that right away.
Okay.
Is what I would see. Is that right, Abby? So that you have that funding in place when you start actually constructing something.
Okay.
So.
Can we use some of the prairie dog funding for this?
Absolutely.
So if that's balanced out for 4 years, whatever we get, we could kind of dedicate that to this, SRF repayment deal, or?
So prairie dog funding can't be used, for what I understand, it can't be used to pay back debt. But if it's designated, because you guys got it last year and this year, right? If it's designated for a project that you're going to build, then I know that it can be used for it.
Right.
But,
Yes.
like, if you're gonna get a prairie dog.
It could be a local contribution to construction.
Yes.
It cannot go towards debt that you already have.
So, but we could use that first before we borrow the money from
Borrow
the
the
other
money,
deal?
so we could keep that
Exactly.
borrowing amount down then,
Yeah.
if we use prairie
Well, the
dogs.
nice thing is with SRF, you apply for your loan, you apply for the full amount, and then you just draw how much you need. So you might be approved for $2 million, but if you only draw 1.5, then that's what you close on.
That way
And
we
that's how
can
much
use-
you don't owe the $2 million, you owe how much you drew.
Okay.
That way we can use that first.
Yep.
And then use that to supplement if we're short 1 year.
Yeah.
Because this could be a 2-year project,
I would say for sure,
or
yeah,
more.
it's gonna be 2 years.
Where I slow this down, right?
Well, I mean, I wanna talk about another option here
Okay.
too.
I have a-
But yes, Larry, you have a
We have a
question?
quick question, you know, basically you got your $2 million local share. Is that assuming that, does that take into account that if they, fund the whole 65%? Or is that
So-
2 million,
so
is that after that or before that?
2 million would be a, conservative estimate by me. And I say that because the city is already that's based off of the total project cost. Well, Blue Flint has already contributed money to the project that we're not giving back to them. They bought the land on the intake site, right? And the city's already paid money into the local share when we did all the engineering studies and preliminary engineering years ago.
Right.
Where the
I get that.
city's got about $250,000 into just
Yeah.
that effort.
Yeah.
You know, with as a 35% match during the time that, we were getting the grant.
Right,
Okay,
exactly, yeah.
so of that money, we've already paid some money into it. So it wouldn't be a full 2 million, but then I would say that, you know, we would look at harder at options like the,
Oh, yeah.
you know, maybe not doing a backup generator.
Right.
Because that's something that we thought that would be
Right.
nice, but not necessarily something that we would do.
Right.
So, I would say, yes, it would be around that $2 million conservatively, hopefully less. So,
Thank you.
yeah. Is there any other questions on the intake project bullets that I have? Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is the connection to the Red River Valley Water Supply Project. So, for those of you that maybe if you guys do know, but if you don't know, they built a large intake for the Red River Valley Water Supply Project that's meant to provide water to the eastern side of the state. It's drought mitigation for that side of the state. So they have done a Garrison Diversion Conservancy District is the project sponsor for that job, and they have signed on users that might want access to this additional water, right? So those guys were out, Garrison Diversion was out here last week as well, and met with the city, and talked about their project and made their pitch basically if the city would rather connect to their intake instead of build their own. Now, there's definitely some positives and negatives about either one of these. So we just want to kind of go over what we talked about a little bit. So the State Water Commission is also very much aware of the connection, or the Red River Valley Water Supply Project, because they're funding a lot of money towards that project, okay? So the State Water Commission staff, that I mentioned earlier, they did a life cycle cost analysis. We had to submit information to them for them to do this analysis. And their life cycle cost analysis takes into account what is the capital cost to either project, what is the operation and maintenance cost, and what are the repair, rehab, and replacement costs, and what is the salvage value you might get out of your project over a certain lifespan. In this case, it's a 50-year life cycle cost analysis, and they arrive at a present value cost for these projects. So, based off the presentation we got from Garrison Diversion last week, they came to the city for a project that would connect their intake they're building right now on the river, about 8 miles downriver from here, 7-8 miles away, a capital cost of $5.9 million to bring water from their intake to the city, okay? We're projecting the intake to be about $6.5 million to build. And so those numbers were taken, and like I said, this life cycle cost analysis was done. And the State Water Commission staff had their professionals look at this, and they came to the determination that the Red River Valley Water Supply Project would be much more cost-effective, present value cost-wise, when they do this life cycle cost analysis for the city versus building their own intake. Okay? Now, that's not the final answer, right? There's a lot more to unpack with this, all right? So, you know, looking at these costs, the O&M costs for the conventional intake are higher for the city's own intake, and part of that reason is that the infrastructure involved in the city's intake is equipment that may not have a 50-year lifespan that would have to be replaced. Not only that, and probably even a greater reason, is that it's the city-owned infrastructure, and they would be paying all of that. Versus if the city was on board with the River Valley project, those O&M costs are shared by everybody that's participating in that project. All right?
We just got out of one big messy project, and now you're suggesting another messy project?
I want to give you all the options that are out there for a new source water. That's my goal, is so that you can get the best deal. That's my goal. Because at the end of the day, I want the city to have a consistent, reliable water source. And if it's easier, better, more affordable for the city to do one option, that's the option that I would want the city to do. And I'm not advocating for either one right now. Like I said, there's a little bit more to go over here. But you have to go to your call? Okay. Yep. So, like I say in my notes there, the life cycle cost analysis favors the connection of the River Valley Water Supply Project. The State Water Commission has pledged a 75-25 grant for this project. The city was to do a project that would connect them to the River Valley intake.
Where is that intake?
It's about 7 or 8 miles downriver from here. If you're driving south on 83, you can't really miss it. They got the big cranes that are up there working.
I've seen those.
right around the Painted Woods.
Right.
Crossing there. So, they view them as a regional supplier, which they most certainly would be, of water, and because of the State Water Commission rules the way they are, those systems, they are able to get a 75-25 grant, whereas municipalities, the Washburn's a special case and they got a 65-35, usually it's a 60-40 for municipalities on the State Water Commission grants. So that's another advantage with the connection to River Valley, is that we would have more state money involved. Now, I asked about the FEMA funds, and that's still out for vote, but for the initial response I got when I asked if FEMA dollars could be used towards that project, if the city was to do it, the answer was no, but we're still looking into that to make sure that that is truly the answer.
Okay.
Okay, now this water line is down there. You gotta pump it from there up to here.
Correct.
So we have to have a separate pumping station down there then.
Yes, and if this project was to be built, and the city decided, yep, we want to hook up to Garrison Diversion, and we want to connect to that intake project they have, they would build the pump station in the pipeline to the city, and they would own that. That would be on them. The city would pay for it to be constructed, but they would be the project sponsor, and they would be responsible for constructing that project, and they would be responsible for owning and operating it. So they would bring the water to the water plant in town here, and they would deliver it to the water plant.
That line would run underwater or underground?
It would most likely follow the Highway 83 corridor, and they would have to get easements from landowners along the highway to get it up to town. And then I would guess that it would go all the way around town and then come in on Highway 200A
Right.
towards the water plant, would be the routing.
About the only option.
It's about the only option, because then you had to come through town if you don't do that, which I don't think the city would be okay with.
Yeah.
So,
The thing is, I mean, they would build it, own and operate it, but then we would pay for it. Right?
And we'd follow their rules. They could tell us what we had to do with it.
yep,
Right.
and that's part of it. So yes, they would own and operate it, and it would be their rules. The city would be a secondary user. Now, that being said, I think there's a good possibility, there's wiggle room there for the city to negotiate how much of the capital cost for that pipeline and pump station that the city would pay for. Also, the city's user rate, which is included in the O&M costs that they have shown on that life cycle cost analysis, that sheet that has the red X's on it. That's what the city would pay an O&M cost, that's their water rates included in that. So that has the potential to go down. And in talking to some of the folks at Garrison Diversion, that the prices that they quoted us last week when we talked were considering Blue Flint ethanol. Considering the city providing 500 gallons per minute to Blue Flint ethanol. Well, that's no longer happening because Rainbow Group's now supplying them water.
Right.
So the takeaway I took from them in my couple of conversations I had with them about this is that price would probably go down. So what I would say is my last bullet point on there is I would encourage the city to reach out to Garrison Diversion to discuss this option in more detail, and to drill down into some of these numbers more, and you know, figure out how, is this the better option for the city to go?
Okay, and my other question here then, if there's trouble with that pumping, who has to go down there and fix it? Or who has to go down there and try to get it going again? Is it our guys have to go down there?
I would say no, it's not. If they're gonna be owning and operating it, it would be up to them. But those are really good questions, and that I would like the city to be in a meeting with or have conversations with Garrison Diversion about. That's something that they would have to assure the city, you know? I mean, this is somewhat consolation, is that if the city would decide to do something like this, you still have an intake, and you still have your own water plant. You still have a lot of storage. You have a large clear well, it's like 240,000 gallons. You have your elevated storage. you still have a lot of control over the infrastructure you have. That intake will still work, granted, we don't have minimal flows out of the dam, you know,
But
that
we still have to pay a minimum amount even if we don't take the water,
potentially.
potentially.
I don't know that 100%, and that's why I would want the city to talk to Garrison Diversion to get some of these things ironed out. It is an option that I think would be a good one, that they at least would merit further investigation, further looking into.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. I mean,
Yes.
you gotta look into it.
'Cause, and here's the other things that I wanted to talk about, and it's your water supply, the city of Washburn's water supply considerations. The city needs a reliable water source. You guys have had issues with your intake on and off again for years.
Yeah.
That is very well known, a very well-known fact. So this is something the city does need. So that's consideration number one, is that you're not gonna run out of water at some point in time. Number two, and I have 3 things listed there: cost, timeline, and risk involved, okay? Cost is looking like, from the analysis that we have, with my latest information on the intake estimates and what the State Water Commission staff ran on their life cycle cost analysis. The better option for cost would be connecting to the Red River water supply. Timeline, they're saying at our meeting last week that they would have their intake done by this winter, December, January, and that if they would negotiate an agreement with the city, that they could build a pipeline up to Washburn by next fall, which I would say the quicker you get at that, the better chances you have of actually getting that done by next fall, for sure. Because we all know how, you know, the materials and the supply chains the way they are, that could prove difficult.
Yeah.
One of the biggest hurdles I see is them being able to produce all the parts and equipment for a pump house by then. The pipeline, probably not as worried as much, but then again, easements are something that aren't just granted.
Yep.
You can't just assume that you're gonna have easements all the time for a long pipeline like that. It still takes quite a bit of work to make sure you have that route and secured. So timeline. Now, if you compare those, they're saying that they could have that done by next fall. I'm saying, and what our schedule was, is if we started construction on our intake this year, that we would have that done by next fall. So the timelines are pretty similar. And then you talk about risk. And I would say that if you're gonna look at risk and mitigating risk, if you're gonna let Garrison Diversion mess with the Missouri River, and they've already built the intake, that's mostly completed, it's not done yet, they've assumed a lot more of the risk that the city will not have to worry about. If something goes wrong with their intake, it's theirs to deal with.
Yeah,
If
but we
something
still
goes-
have the money invested in it if something goes wrong.
Correct.
So the money we invested in it is for their intake, which we're not using for our intake.
Correct, but everybody else that's on board with this, the cities of Fargo, the city of Valley City, the city of Grand Forks, you know, that's a lot of weight right there, and if they can't produce for them, or for Washburn, then they can't produce for them. So there's a lot of weight on them to make sure that they ensure that this intake works.
But we could get cut off from the supply chain anytime.
You talking water?
From water, yeah. They could shut the water off if they needed water someplace else.
No,
No,
they
if
would
there's
not.
an agreement, you can't.
No, they can't shut you off from water.
Okay.
No, but it could silt in just like anything else.
But that risk is gonna be with anybody that has an intake on this river.
Right.
So, and considering that, the risk would be more on Garrison Diversion and not as much on the city. Okay? So, that's something for sure the city would have to weigh on what they wanna do going forward.
So what is the cost difference between the two projects?
So if you look at the life cycle cost analysis, we're saying that our total project costs are about $6.5 million for the new intake. Okay, that's capital costs. That's gonna be everything to design and construct it, right? And to do all the preliminary work that we've done quite a bit of that already. Whereas the capital cost for the connection to Red River Valley is looking at 5.9.
And maybe less without Blue Flint on it, correct?
And it could potentially be less, yeah. But that's, again, that's their estimate, and I would say that's preliminary. And until the city would get into more talks and negotiations with Garrison Diversion, I'm not completely solid on that number. I would want there to be more discussion and them to show you guys more of what their plan is, before that number becomes more solid.
Well, I'm just thinking with, you had mentioned that, there's no way that they can figure easement costs in there because that was a big factor with the water line going the other direction.
Easement costs were a huge factor in the Blue Flint project, yes, they were a huge factor. And they would be not as big of a factor, but they still would be a factor getting water from where their intake is right now to here, yes. Now, that would be something that we would, get more solid on if we would go down that route.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
So.
Because they're the ones in charge of the river flow anyway.
Garrison Diversion?
Well, they're
No.
hooked in with that, aren't they?
No, that's Corps of Engineers.
Yeah.
It's still kind of hooked together. They talk a lot. And they were supposed to supply water for everybody, and they haven't. So trying to rely on everything they're saying is a tough one to swallow.
Well, the thing that we know that the Corps of Engineers manages all the dams on the whole Missouri River system. We know that. We also know that they can never hold water back. They always have to release some water, even if we're in a severe drought. Because if we hold water back, we're like, nope, we need all the water in Lake Skakawea. All the other states, all the way down the country, would be high and dry and not able to, have their intakes in water or move their traffic and commerce that they need to on the river. So there's a whole bunch of weight behind. There is always going to be water flowing down the river. So that, I guess that it's tough to say that, Mike, but I mean it's a concern though that you have, right? So it's not something that to take lightly either. Which brings me to my another point, and you guys have already talked about it, and that's the city's ability to own and operate their own infrastructure. The city builds their intake. They make the choice. They decide, they decide how they're going to run it. They are in control of their own destiny. So that's a consideration for sure.
Well, that's what we've been doing with our own intake for all these years now.
Yes.
We're controlling our own destiny with the water we're intaking.
You guys have been running your own intake for
That's right.
80 years.
Yeah, forever.
80 years.
So there's not much of a gamble there if we go with our own system or if we use some other system. Because we're still running it ourselves.
Do we know how much water or what level that intake has to have, no matter what? The one that they're building now. What's the technical, how much water has to be released for them to actually work?
That's hard for me to say right now, because that's not one of my projects, but I can tell you that I'm not saying that we didn't put a lot of effort into Washburn's intake, but that intake, you're talking about, that's $1 billion project. The pipeline was the most expensive part of that, when you're building a 6-foot diameter pipeline across the state. The intake was smaller money in that overall project cost. But you're talking about a $30 million intake over there. A lot bigger money and a lot, the amount of people that they're serving. And if a severe drought was to happen on the east side of the state, they put a ton of effort into locating that intake. And it was positioned in an area that would be, not saying it's impossible, because again, it's the Missouri River and Mother Nature always wins. But it was placed in a location that historically has always had a deep channel. It was placed in an area where they have armoring on the riverbank, to where they know where the flow is going to be all the time. Now, that's not something that every location along the Missouri River enjoys. We don't always get to decide, exactly where we're going to put our intake. The city of Washburn's here, not 8 miles downriver.
Is that a deep channel where they're in?
So they're in a deep channel there. They're in a deep channel. I do know that, but I also can't tell you exactly what flow of the river needs to be for them to be in the water or not.
Well, it'd be nice to know, because we need to know this, you would think.
And that's a perfect question for you to have that discussion with Garrison Diversion. Because the guy that was here, Kip Kovar, he's one of their lead engineers for Garrison Diversion. He has that information. You know, he's not the only one with that information, but I'm not the guy on that project. But that's something that the city would need to have those discussions with them and make sure that you get those concerns in it. And I would be willing to help the city ask those questions if you want me to. But I would much rather have the city have those direct talks with Garrison Diversion if that's something that they're seriously considering. Because then you can drill down into anything you want on what they have, what details you want to know about their intake. You know, if you're unsure of something, or if you're worried about them not supplying water or getting cut off, at any point in time, you can ask them that. You know?
Yeah, I think we need to move forward and have those talks with them, like you said, Eric. Otherwise, we won't explore the option
I
anyway.
agree, plus we also need to have, McLean Sheridan involved in this too.
Exactly.
Because, you know, they're like 10%.
Yeah, because they're,
responsible for 10% of the cost, so.
yeah.
Yep.
And I did call Ann today and told her we were gonna have this meeting, you were just gonna explain things, and
Yep.
that, you know, in the future, we need to all sit down and
Yeah.
have a meeting with them, and them, and them, and them.
I couldn't agree more. You absolutely want to have McLean Sheridan on those discussions as well,
Absolutely.
because they did pledge to be in 10% on the city's infrastructure needs for an intake. And you know, they know a lot of people too.
Oh, yeah.
They talk to people in this industry as well.
Yep.
So, you know, they're gonna help the city out in this regard too, and the city's success is their success as well. So,
Oh, yeah.
yes, that's a very good point. I know I threw a lot of information at you guys, but I didn't want to take all night either in putting it all out there. A lot of things have changed in the last week with Blue Flint, you know, happening, and with Garrison Diversion approaching the city. And I just want the city to have as much information as they possibly can get to make the best decision for the city.
Right.
So that's my goal here, and, you know, you guys, let me know what you want me to do. I would want the city to start steering a certain direction, and the reason I say that, I want you guys to get after it a little bit here and not wait too long, and the reason I say that is, you know, your funding's not around forever.
Right.
The State Water Commission has granted us the second extension now. They just did, and that extension's good through 2024, I believe. And the FEMA grant's already been extended once. We're waiting on the second extension.
Yep.
So we have this grant money that's there, you know, and this project will get a whole lot harder, no matter which project you choose.
Yeah.
That project will get a whole lot harder if all of a sudden our grant money goes away.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And if the costs go up,
Well, yeah, and the cost can go up too. The longer you wait, that's usually what happens. So I would encourage the city to, you know, I know you guys are taking this seriously, so I'm not gonna say take it seriously,
Yeah.
but I would say to pursue this and let me know what I can do to help, and we'll do that.
So the sooner the better that we.
Yep.
The sooner the better, and
yeah.
I think you might have Kip's contact information, Larry. If you don't, I can get that to you. I know that Kip has yours from Garrison Diversion. Kip Kovar, he's
Yeah.
the guy that was here?
Yep.
Yeah, from Garrison Diversion.
I don't know if we have it, but
Okay, I will get it to you
Okay.
if you don't have it.
they have not started working on any easements coming this way though,
No.
as of our meeting last week, correct?
They have not done. they have
Okay,
not
I
done
didn't
any
think so,
work.
but I just wanted to make sure I understood that correctly.
Yeah, they have not started work on any easements, and that would be something that I wouldn't guess that they would do any of that
Until
until
we
after
commit.
we have like some kind of agreement in
Yeah.
place.
Right.
Um,
Some kind of
so-
commitment.
Yeah.
I don't wanna go that way.
Yeah, so, but yes, I don't have any other information to say unless you guys have questions, and if you want, it's a lot, like I said, to kind of digest. If you guys want to talk to me, you know, think about it for a couple days or a week or
Right.
whatever, and then we can chat again.
Yeah.
Okay?
Good. Well, thanks, Eric.
All right.
Good? Yeah,
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
portfolios, Tim?
Just, I took that tour with Jessica King,
Oh,
who's
yeah.
on the forestry board. I think I visited with Don a little bit one night. And as far as the city taking and the maintenance part of those, anyway, Adam, I don't know if you were informed on that, but those planters that are along 83 up here, the forestry board, Larry and I met a few months ago with them, and they've asked that the city take over just the cleaning up and the maintenance of them. You're already mowing around them anyway, but with that type of thing, so she showed me where they were all at, and maybe you and I can take a quick ride, because there was, I think, 3 of them they said that were smaller that could be eliminated, that we wouldn't have to worry about, so you and I can do that sometime, so,
Right.
yeah.
Spraying, I suppose, the weeds of,
Right.
you know, I
So-
don't think you have to change any mulch or anything, but.
No. So when it dries up, you and I can do that someday, and I can show you what she showed me, so.
Perfect.
Okay.
The hall, we're still having some issues with the doors, how it's getting propped open, and it's tweaking the door a little bit, so the top latch is hooking, the bottom latch isn't. So I'm open for suggestions, what we can do to alleviate this problem. And I'm not sure what we can do.
Jamie did say at one point in time, well, I guess I talked to Jenny, that they could make an adjustment on those to help prevent that when they are being propped open, so that if it is open after the time that door is closing or set to lock, that it does lock, because that's been an issue. But
Really?
it's being opened with an Allen wrench as well too, and that completes the whole system of having it automatically lock and unlock.
Yeah.
So
We put little plugs in there, so if they couldn't do it, they'd pull them out.
I put a different plug in now.
Oh, did you? Okay, good.
We'll see if that works.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know if it's a setting that he can do, so that it,
Might have to go with tamper-proof doors or something.
I'll tell you.
Okay.
Some of that has to do with handicap. We gotta be careful on how much pressure we put on there.
Right.
Because there are rules and regulations, so,
Okay.
that's one of our issues that we have to be careful with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else?
Thanks, Mike.
That's it.
Done.
No news on those wind towers yet. Another meeting coming up here on Monday, but that's not one of the issues on the table, so that's all I have.
I have nothing. Chelsea, you're up.
do we open, walk, close May 27th, Friday before Memorial Day? Usually it's open through May. I just
That'd be fine.
close at the 27th.
Okay.
Okay. Also, I kind of forgot to put this on the agenda. When I met with our Blue Cross Blue Shield rep, she had taken our Unum benefits that she has. If the city would want to add an additional, life and accident policy on there for an additional $25,000 to all employees, it would be $18 a month for 4 employees currently. She just took who's on it right now, at a cost of $216 a year. She asked me, but I, of course, wanted to bring it to the commission.
And what does this all cover? Sorry.
For, basic term life and accident and dental death and insurance, on top of the Unum that we have, which just covers $10,000 on each employee, this would be an additional, $25,000. A little bit more since, just something she put on there just in case. If this was through Mutual Omaha, it'd be $18 a month for 4 employees currently who's on there, $216 a year, so.
We don't have any, other insurance. What's that other one?
Short term, long term?
No, they got, I got an accident policy through them and then cancer insurance.
Oh, Aflac?
Aflac. So we don't have any of those, or, 'cause I know they met with us before, I can't remember.
Yeah, that's employee funded.
That's all employee
Yes,
funded, okay.
the city pays for nothing on that. The city pays for our Unum, which is our life too, but that's only $10,000 on each employee. So if we wanted to cover an additional $25,000, we could do this
And this would be how much a year?
Mutual home, $216,
$18 a month.
$18 a month, for 4 employees.
Also
We should do it.
Tim moved.
Yep.
Second?
Discussion, Tim?
Yes.
Aye. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's $18 a month covers all of you, not per person, right?
Yeah, it'd be the 4 of us, yeah.
Okay.
That Erica's not in on that, or? Does
She should be.
Currently, yes.
I thought.
Zach would have to be added after his 6 months, so
Okay, okay.
it is, yeah, Erica is included on
Okay,
this one.
okay, very good. Okay,
Thanks, Chelsea.
Yes.
yeah, anything else?
I don't believe so.
Most of my stuff's been covered already. With the river going up, this weekend, our plans to put the temporary pump back in are on hold for now, at least.
How much are they raising it, you know?
16? They're starting at 16, and then I believe it's up to 18 now, after a couple days. So it started 16, a few days into it, 18.
So they're what, 13 now or something?
13.5.
13.5.
They just bumped up to 13.5, or was it always at?
It's been at 13.5 for a month and a half, I think. So hopefully that'll fix our problems with shutting down at 2 o'clock every day. Just in time, which is nice.
Yeah, okay.
Also mentioned before, we're still kind of waiting to get some tar. The state said they would supply us with tar when they get some, to spare. Every time we call them, they say in a couple weeks. So, we'll keep calling them on that, but I don't know if we're gonna end up getting this year or not.
We might not do tarring.
Should, we start kinda keeping our ears or eyes open for a tank or something?
Tanks.
A storage tank,
Oh.
so that we can get it set up, so we actually get it next year. Or a contract where we can sign it.
Yeah, there's one on, was it Iron Planet or whatever, but I didn't watch, it's been on hold forever. I'm actually, when I get time, I'm gonna call them and just see what the deal is.
Got a heater on it and
It's
everything?
an 8,000 gallons. It's got, it's a trailer, but it's
Yeah.
got the tubes where
Mhm.
you could put, you know, your gas fired,
Yeah.
or your
We should do
propane
that.
fired.
Yeah, I think it'd make more sense than relying on getting it every year.
Right, so then we get like a tanker or whatever.
Right, whatever we can do to help our cost and make sure, cause our streets, they're doing a good job, but
Yeah.
with this snow, it raised the heck with a lot of our stuff.
Oh, yeah. Anyway.
And we're still waiting on our new sprayer to be delivered. They're kind of giving us a little bit of a runaround on it, but, in a couple weeks, we're definitely gonna need it.
Yeah, we're gonna need it shortly, so.
So we'll keep on them about that.
Did you get the spray ordered and stuff? So we have spray on hand?
Yes, we have some left over from last year.
Okay.
That's it.
Thanks, Adam.
Rhonda?
There is an organization called CANDAC. It's cycling around North Dakota, it used to be called like Candace. And they were wondering if Washburn would like to be a host town. And all they really require is that they have a place to stay, set up their tents, and a shelter if there's bad weather.
I know one year, didn't they stay down at, Asbury?
They stayed at the 4-H camp, but that was when it was Candace, they paid for, renting the 4-H camp and that, and, it's a good fundraiser for a group if they want, to cater, do the meals and that.
It's a good deal.
I'm bringing it up to Washburn Lake, hopefully tomorrow.
When would it be?
The dates are August 6th through the 13th, so they're expected to be in Washburn the 12th of August.
So basically, they're looking for a place to set up, right?
Like overnight.
And then if it rains, they want the Memorial Hall or something? Or?
It's just like a shelter place,
Yeah.
and maybe, they
We can
said,
do that.
busing to places to eat. And I talked with Emmy here, and she said they could call in and do to-go orders, and they would deliver.
Yeah, I don't wanna get into bussing them around, but.
Oh, we wouldn't do that.
We don't have.
Well, that's what I'm saying, I don't wanna get into that.
And
So
then
what
that's fine.
are you looking from, as far as from Washburn, just to,
Just saying that, they could use, Riverside Park or,
oh, I see.
They just have to let if they end up staying there, they just have to let the sheriff's department know that they're gonna be there overnight.
Right.
That's pretty much, I guess, whatever they call, but the sheriff's department likes to know because the park technically does close unless they are aware that people are staying there. They just have to be informed, and so they can kind of patrol through there throughout the night, so.
I mean, as far as the hall, I mean, obviously if there's a storm, it's a little different, but, I mean, if it's rented, you know, you can't kick out the rent.
Right.
We could leave an open date for that, though.
Do you know when they're coming?
They were thinking it'd be the 12th of August. They start in Riverdale and it ends, so they'll go through Riverdale, Wilton, Hazelton, Wishick, or to Bismarck, or work its way back. Actually, they'll stop in Wishick and go up to Riverdale and then come back. Cause they'll be doing 1804 on their way back to Bismarck.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
So they'll be, not quite sure the time we know they'll be in town, cause they'll bring in, business to, maybe to like, certain areas, drugstore, all depends on what time they get into town. So I did mention that, we had 2 cafes that closed at 3, 4
Yeah.
o'clock, and
Yeah. Assuming they'll be updating as time gets closer, maybe?
I have to call them back on Wednesday if we're okay with being a host city. Because sometimes people do things, and they vote on it, and then they get, but this group is from Minot High, Bishop, Ryan, and Velva are the ones in charge. They just that Candace ended 4 years ago, and it just started up after COVID.
Are these adults, or are they like high
These are
schoolers,
adults.
or?
Must be teachers or adults.
Oh, riding bicycles.
I can just tell you that when they did stay at Asbury, Dollars for Scholars cooked their meal, their dinner and their breakfast, and it was great, and it was a good fundraiser for Dollars for Scholars.
And some of them did stay at the motel and stuff too.
And, they all bought food, even if it was
Is there-
apples at the store,
there enough room
they were
on
all over when they were here.
I don't know.
Asbury's.
So I make a motion that we let them stay at Riverside Park, if they let us know, and then if there's a storm, we can open that up.
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
Is there enough room at Riverside Park? Do you know how many are coming?
I don't know, I haven't.
Cause it's not a lot of, unless you know what I'm saying.
Well, they could work their way up towards the flat up on top where the walking path is.
Cause I was just thinking that
And down below.
Well, there's also next to the ferry.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, there's a lot of area.
They can go all down by that Gabees, okay.
Yeah, because that walking path is pretty big as long as we tell the cops that it's all right, I would think we
You have
could.
that motion and stuff written down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Tim?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I forgot about the parking.
Yeah, there's a lot of room up there, which is
Anything else?
nice overlook and
Yeah,
stuff.
you're spread out, but still.
Anybody else have anything?
I have one more thing.
Yes.
The most important thing. Our internet's been down off and on all day today. Midco was in, thought maybe it was a modem issue, but I don't think it is. They looked at some of the, fibers coming in, and then it switches to, what's that other one? I don't know, they're usually in town on Mondays and Fridays, so they are coming back, or his boss, a couple other people are coming back on Friday to see
They need to be here before that.
if it's,
Well, Midco doesn't have fiber coming in, do they? Don't they have copper coming in?
this one
He
is,
seemed to think they had fiber coming in.
What?
He seemed to think they had fiber coming in.
I thought Midco was all copper coming in.
I'm gonna hope tomorrow when I come back it works.
West River has fiber.
West River's.
Wow,
yeah.
if they're not gonna be here till Friday, I would call and say, hey, you get your behind.
Yeah, I'll see
off here.
if what it's like tomorrow, because it worked just fine on Friday when I left, so,
I don't know whether Midco's gonna ever, go with fiber, but we have West River fiber up to the building.
There's a box back there, and the Midco guy looked at it, he said he thought it was West River box.
Right.
It has fiber in it, so.
So-
Because we have a regular West River telephone, they upgraded everything to fiber to the building.
Whether you hook the internet up.
Right, exactly.
So
So
weren't-
it's-
weren't you saying something about, we're probably with Midco because of the access channel?
That was what Adam and I kind of
Likely,
determined,
yeah.
because that's how it goes to the TVs. And I don't know why everything else would be West River, and you have West River at the water treatment plant, and the
Mhm.
city hall still on Midco.
And the Memorial Hall's on West River.
Mhm.
I think we should
Switch
explore
over.
the option of
Yeah.
putting in West River
I
here.
think we need to look at it. Yeah.
Another reason we had Midco is because we're on their business plan, which guaranteed a certain amount of uptime.
Yeah, you can get
That
the
didn't
same thing
include-
on West River.
Didn't include today though, right?
Yeah. Get the same thing on West River.
Right. Mike, you need to check into it, so.
So what are we directing Chelsea to do? Or him?
Well, our Midco contract goes through July, I believe.
Okay.
I think we would leave it up to Chelsea and Adam to figure out what is best for the city, and they can make the decision.
Okay, that's all I was asking.
There you go.
Yeah. Handle the
Anything else?
pressure. Can handle the pressure.
Anything else?
We want an answer now.
Yeah, I would have liked one at 9:30 this morning.
Exactly.
Okay, bills? Everybody have a chance to review the bills?
So move.
Second?
Mike won.
Beat me by an eyelash.
Discussion on the bills.
Yes.
You had a question on that one bill?
She answered it.
Okay,
Fine.
good.
Yes.
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 Yes. Next meeting, June 11th.
All right.